The Eyes Have It by Philip Kindred Dick. It was, quite by accident I discovered this incredible invasion of Earth by life forms from another planet. As yet, I haven't done anything about it. I can't think of anything to do. I wrote to the government and they sent back a pamphlet on the repair and maintenance of frame houses. Anyhow, the whole thing is known. I'm not the first to discover it. Maybe it's even under control? I was sitting in my easy chair, idly turning the pages of a paperback book someone had left on the bus when I came across a reference that first put me on the trail. For a moment, I didn't respond. It took some time for the full import to sink in. After I'd comprehended, it seemed odd I hadn't noticed it right away. The reference was clearly to a non-human species of incredible properties, not indigenous to Earth. A species, I hasten to point out, customarily masquerades as ordinary human beings. Their disguise, however, became transparent in the face of the following observations by the author. It was at once obvious the author knew everything, and was taking it in his stride. The line, and I tremble remembering it now, read, "His eyes slowly roved about the room." Vague chills assailed me. I tried to picture the eyes. Did they roll like dimes? The passage indicated not. They seemed to move through the air, not over the surface, rather rapidly, apparently. No one in the story was surprised. That's what tipped me off. No sign of amazement at such an outrageous thing. Later, the matter was amplified. His eyes moved from person to person. There it was in a nutshell. The eyes had clearly come apart from the rest of him and were on their own. My heart pounded. My breath choked in my windpipe. I'd stumbled on an accidental mention of a totally unfamiliar race, obviously non-terrestrial. Yet to the characters in the book, it was perfectly natural, which suggested they belonged to the same species. And the author? A slow suspicion burned in my mind. The author was taking it rather too easily. In his stride, evidently he felt this was quite a usual thing. He made absolutely no attempt to conceal this knowledge. The story continued. Presently, his eyes fastened on Julia. Julia, being a lady, had at least the breeding to feel indignant. She is described as blushing and knitting her brow angrily. At this, I sighed in relief. They weren't all non-terrestrial. The narrative continues. Slowly, calmly, his eyes examined every inch of her. Great Scott! But here the girl turned and stomped off, and the matter ended. I lay back in my chair, gasping with horror. My wife and family regarded me in wonder. "What's wrong?" my wife asked. I couldn't tell her. Knowledge like this was too much for the ordinary, run-of-the-mill person. I had to keep it to myself. "Nothing?" I gasped. I leaped up, snatched the book, and hurried out of the room. In the garage, I continued reading. There was more. Trembling, I read the next revealing passage. He put his arms around Julia. Presently, she asked him if he would remove his arms. He immediately did so, with a smile. It's not said what was done with the arm after the fellow had removed it. Maybe it was left standing upright in the corner, maybe it was thrown away. I don't care. In any case, the full meaning was there, staring me in the face. There was a race of creatures capable of removing portions of their anatomy at will, eyes, arms, and maybe more, without batting an eyelash. My knowledge of biology came in handy at this point. Obviously, they were simple beings, unicellular, some sort of primitive, single-celled things, being no more developed than starfish. Starfish can do the same thing, you know. I read on, and came to this incredible revelation, tossed off coolly by the author without the faintest tremor. Outside the movie theater, we split up. Part of us went inside, part over to the cafe for dinner. Binary fission, obviously, splitting in half and forming two entities. Probably each lower half went to the cafe, it being farther, and the upper halves to the movies. I read on, hands shaking. I had really stumbled onto something here. My mind reeled as it made out this passage. I'm afraid there's no doubt about it. poor Bibney has lost his head again. Which was followed by, and Bob says he has utterly no guts. Yet Bibney got around as well as the next person. The next person, however, was just as strange. He was soon described as totally lacking in brains. There was no doubt of the thing in the next passage. Julia, whom I had thought to be the one normal person, reveals herself as also being an alien life form similar to the rest. Quite deliberately, Julie had given her heart to the young man. I didn't relate what the final disposition of the organ was, but I didn't really care. It was evident Julia had gone right on living in her usual manner, like all of the others in the book. Without heart, arms, eyes, brains, viscera, dividing up in two when the occasion demanded, without a qualm. Thereupon she gave him her hand. I sickened. The rascal now had her hand as well as her heart. I shudder to think what he's done with them by this time. He took her arm. Not content to wait, he had to start dismantling her on his own. Flushing crimson, I slammed the book shut. I leaped to my feet, but not in time to escape one of the last references to those carefree bits of anatomy whose travels had originally thrown me on the track. Her eyes followed him all the way down the road, across the meadow. I rushed from the garage and back inside the warm house, as if the accursed things were following me. My wife and children were playing Monopoly in the kitchen. I joined them and played with frantic fervor, brow feverish, teeth chattering. I'd had enough of the thing. I want to hear no more about it. Let them come on. Let them invade Earth. I don't want to get mixed up in it. I have absolutely no stomach for it. The Eyes Have It can be found in the archives of Project Gutenberg. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away, or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included in this ebook or online at www.projectgutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of your country where you are located before using this ebook. Sounds were sourced from Zepsplat.com and Audiio.com. Now that we're done with the legal jargon, I also have a podcast with the same audio content. However, episodes do tend to populate a little sooner than here on the Yowtubby. If you have a short fictional piece you'd like me to read, let me know in the comments or shoot me a DM on Insta. Right now my threshold is nothing more than 3,000 words, but if I like it, you never know. If you are in need of some voiceover work for a project or commercial, feel free to reach out through my website, joshuasandsvo.com. If I don't have the sound you're looking for, check out Bunny Studio. You can get there with my affiliate link in the description. I've been working with Bunny Studio on the pro side, and I can say for sure that every artist on the platform is top tier. Every project you make goes through rigorous quality control and comes with unlimited revisions. Try them out today. Thanks for watching. I'm sure you've been here for a while, so you know what to do.